Cupid's Whisper, a gay Valentine's Day story. Kyle sat alone, gazing out at the twinkling lights of San Francisco from the window of the Griffin Cafe. The cafe was hosting a lively singles event, and the atmosphere was buzzing with laughter and conversation. Yet, Kyle felt a strange emptiness as he watched couples connect over coffee and casual banter. In his mid-30s, Kyle was not exactly a fitness enthusiast, but he maintained a trim figure, one that made his friends call him casually cute. His warm, friendly smile was often his best feature. However, tonight, Kyle felt invisible in a room full of people. He had officially sworn off dating, especially after his feelings for Raphael, the delivery guy from work, had gone unreciprocated for years. Raphael was everything Kyle admired in a man. Ruggedly handsome, funny, and kind-hearted. The way Raphael casually tossed his thick, wavy hair over his shoulder always made Kyle's heart skip a beat. Kyle often imagined Raphael chopping wood shirtless in some secluded cabin they shared, far away from the bustling city. But these fantasies were a far cry from reality. As Kyle stirred the remains of his latte, his phone made a peculiar chime. A notification from an unfamiliar app appeared, asking, "Looking for love?" The app, named Cupid's Whisper, promised it could help him find a man. Kyle smirked. Why not? He thought. I've tried everything else. He quickly downloaded it, clicking agree, without reading the terms and conditions. Just another gimmick, he figured, standing up to leave the cafe. He was ready to head home and spend Valentine's Day evening with Netflix and takeout. As Kyle stepped out into the cool night, a sleek car pulled up in front of him. The windows rolled down to reveal an older woman with salt and pepper hair, flashing a knowing smile. "Your ride's here. Let's go," she said, her voice surprisingly familiar. Kyle blinked. Did the app order this? He shrugged and got in the car. The woman drove smoothly through the city streets, weaving through the hills until they arrived at a modern high-rise. "Go on, sweetie," she said. "Ring Unit 407. Trust me." Kyle hesitated but ultimately followed her instructions, feeling more curious than concerned. When he rang the doorbell, he was greeted by a striking man wrapped in nothing but a towel. Kyle's jaw dropped. Standing before him was Owen, the brooding classmate from high school who had tormented him relentlessly. Kyle's stomach churned with a mix of emotions: anger, confusion, and undeniable attraction. Owen grinned awkwardly. "Hey, Kyle. It's been a long time." Kyle stood frozen. "What am I doing here?" "Come in," Owen said softly, stepping aside. "We need to talk." Reluctantly, Kyle entered. Owen quickly explained, "I treated you terribly back then. I was young and confused. I didn't know how to handle my feelings for you. I'm really sorry, Kyle. You didn't deserve any of that." Kyle sat on the edge of the couch, still processing the strange turn of events. His heart softened a little. "You had feelings for me?" he asked, incredulous. Owen nodded. "I didn't know how to deal with it. I was scared of being outed. You were always on my mind and it freaked me out." Kyle exhaled, a part of him relieved to finally hear the truth. "I can't say that makes it okay, but I understand now." They talked for a while, mending old wounds, and Kyle decided to forgive him. Owen wasn't the same person he had known in school, and that much was clear. Kyle left Owen's apartment feeling lighter, though still somewhat bewildered. His phone buzzed again with a message from the app: time to head to the bar. "Your next adventure awaits." Kyle smiled and stepped back into the car waiting for him. A short drive later, Kyle found himself at the doorstep of Boys' Night, a chic gay bar he'd never been able to get into. As he approached, the bouncer nodded and let him in with a smirk. Inside, the bar was electric with music, lights, and a sea of attractive men. A bartender handed him a drink, compliments of the guy in the leather jacket. Kyle turned to find none other than Raphael, leaning against the bar, flashing that irresistible smile. "Hey, Kyle. You look amazing tonight." Kyle blinked in surprise. "Raphael? You sent me this." Raphael nodded, his eyes locking onto Kyle's. "I've been wanting to talk to you for ages, but I didn't know how you'd feel about it." Was Raphael flirting with me? Kyle's mind raced. "You mean, you're interested in me?" Kyle asked, still in shock. Raphael stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Very." Kyle's heart pounded as Raphael took his hand. The crowded bar seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them. Later, when they slipped into the night for a quiet walk along the pier, Raphael confessed, "I've always had a thing for you, Kyle. You're smart, kind, and funny. I just didn't know how to approach you." Kyle smiled, finally feeling like the universe was aligning in his favor. His phone buzzed one last time. The screen simply said, "Happy Valentine's Day. Love, Cupid's whisper." And with that, the app vanished from his phone. Kyle slipped the phone back into his pocket and turned to Raphael, a smile spreading across his face. "So, how about dinner tomorrow?" Raphael grinned. "I'd love that." As they walked into the night, hand in hand, Kyle couldn't help but feel like his very own fairy tale had finally begun. As the warmth of their kiss lingered, Jimmy and Anton pulled back, their hearts racing with anticipation. Jimmy couldn't believe how quickly his life had turned around. Just hours ago, he had felt invisible, lost in a sea of unrequited feelings and heartache. Now, standing in his new office with Anton, he felt a surge of hope. "Dinner sounds perfect," Anton replied, a soft smile playing on his lips. "What time?" "Let's say 7, Jimmy suggested, glancing at the clock on his new desk. "I'll make the reservation at the Olive Tree. They have a fantastic Valentine's Day special." "Great choice," Anton beamed, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I can't wait to celebrate with you." With that, Anton slipped out of the office, leaving Jimmy alone with his thoughts. As he settled into his new role, a sense of excitement flooded through him. He opened his laptop, eager to dive into the workload that lay ahead. But every time he glanced at the clock, his mind drifted back to Anton and their upcoming dinner. As the day wore on, Jimmy felt the atmosphere at the office shift. Colleagues congratulated him on his promotion, their genuine smiles lighting up the room. It was a far cry from the tension and jealousy that had surrounded him when Nicholas had been in charge. For the first time in a long while, he felt appreciated and respected. Around 5, he decided to take a break and head to the break room. As he poured himself a cup of coffee, he spotted a few of his coworkers exchanging Valentine's Day cards and gifts. One of them, a bubbly guy named Felix, approached him with a cheeky grin. "Look who's the new office darling," Felix said, winking. "Rumor has it you've snagged Anton as your Valentine tonight." Jimmy chuckled, feeling a warmth spread through him at the mention of Anton's name. "I guess the rumors are true. Good for you." "He's a catch," Felix remarked, leaning in closer. "Just remember, if things get too steamy tonight, you can always come back to work for a quiet escape." They both laughed, and Jimmy felt a lightness in his heart. Maybe this Valentine's Day wouldn't just be another lonely night. Maybe it would mark the beginning of something wonderful. As the clock struck 6, Jimmy decided it was time to get ready for his date. He rushed home, excitement coursing through him. He chose a sharp, tailored outfit from the mysterious delivery that had arrived earlier. He styled his hair just right, applying a splash of cologne that had come with his new clothes. By the time he arrived at the Olive Tree, the restaurant was buzzing with energy. Candlelit tables adorned with flowers filled the cozy space, and romantic melodies played softly in the background. As he stepped inside, his heart raced. Would Anton be as excited to see him as he was to see Anton? "Jimmy!" Anton's voice cut through the ambient noise, and he turned to find Anton waving from a corner table. looking incredibly handsome in a fitted blazer and jeans that showcased his athletic build. "Hey!" Jimmy exclaimed, his nerves melting away as he approached. The moment Anton stood to greet him, Jimmy felt as if he were floating on air. "You look amazing." "Right back at you," Anton said, his eyes sparkling with admiration. "You clean up well." After settling into their seats, they pored over the menu, chatting animatedly about everything from work to their favorite shows. The conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and playful banter. It felt natural and easy, as if they had known each other for years. "Did you know the Olive Tree has the best tiramisu in the city?" Anton asked, a teasing glint in his eye. "Now you're just trying to seduce me with desserts," Jimmy joked, a smile tugging at his lips. As they enjoyed their meal, the waiter arrived with a complimentary glass of champagne, courtesy of the restaurant for Valentine's Day. The two raised their glasses, laughter bubbling between them. "To new beginnings," Anton toasted, his gaze locked on Jimmy's. "To new beginnings," Jimmy echoed, clinking their glasses together. As the evening progressed, their chemistry intensified. They shared stories about their childhood, aspirations, and even fears. Jimmy found himself drawn to Anton in a way he had never imagined possible. With each shared laugh and lingering gaze, Jimmy felt the walls he had built around his heart slowly crumble. After dessert, as they sipped their coffee, Jimmy felt a surge of courage wash over him. He looked deeply into Anton's eyes, the air around them charged with anticipation. "Can I ask you something?" Jimmy began, his voice steady but vulnerable. "Of course," Anton replied, leaning in slightly. "What's your vision for the future? What do you want?" Jimmy asked, his heart pounding. Anton smiled softly, his expression thoughtful. "Honestly, I want to find someone I can build a life with, share my days with. Someone who makes me laugh and feel alive." Jimmy felt a rush of warmth. "You know, I never thought I'd find someone like that. I was ready to give up," he confessed, feeling the weight of his past slip away. "But tonight feels different." Anton's eyes brightened, and he reached across the table, his hand brushing against Jimmy's. "Maybe it's because we're finally being honest with ourselves. I've wanted this for so long." The connection between them crackled with undeniable energy. As they finished their drinks, Anton leaned closer, his voice low and intimate. "What if we don't just leave tonight as friends?" Jimmy's heart raced at the implication. "What are you suggesting?" "Let's take a leap," Anton murmured, his eyes intense. "Let's explore this connection. I want to see where it leads." With a newfound confidence, Jimmy nodded, his pulse quickening. "I'd like that very much." The two men left the restaurant, stepping out into the cool night air. As they walked side by side, their fingers brushed, sending electric sparks through Jimmy. They strolled through the vibrant streets of the city, taking in the sights and sounds of Valentine's Day. Eventually, they found themselves at a small park adorned with twinkling fairy lights. A sense of magic filled the air, and Jimmy felt like he was in a dream. He turned to Anton, their faces inches apart. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered, his heart racing. Anton smiled, his eyes soft and inviting. "Please do." With that, Jimmy leaned in, capturing Anton's lips with his own. The kiss ignited a fire within him, filling him with warmth and longing. They melted into each other, losing track of time as the world around them faded away. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless and smiling, Jimmy felt a profound sense of happiness. Whatever had brought them together that day, whether fate or a mysterious app, he was grateful. "Ready for another adventure?" Anton asked, grinning widely. "Always," Jimmy replied, excitement bubbling inside him. As they walked hand in hand into the night, Jimmy knew this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey. A journey filled with love, laughter, and the promise of what could be. The eCupid app may have disappeared from his phone, but it had left behind something far more valuable, a connection that had the power to change their lives forever.